like Kennedy, but man, you guys have no cap. Like, absolutely not. GTFO.
He just walks into like the war room or whatever, just kicks the door open, and it's like bathrobe. It's like 2 a.m. What is this shit?
Larry, sit down.
Why is Marilyn in here? Get her out of here.
It's like, are you guys fucking nuts?
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Shadows and Sightings, the paranormal comedy podcast, where we talk about all things spooky. I'm Taylor.
I'm Nick.
And we're digging into the realm of conspiracy theories this week. Fresh off the heels of St. Patrick's Day lore last week, do something a little different this time around. I feel like we haven't done a good conspiracy theory in a while, if ever.
I was going to say, I don't think we've actually covered conspiracy theories at all.
Yeah.
Like, we dived into, I guess, like any sort of like the UFO stories that we've covered.
Yeah, like Roswell and Betty and Barney Hill.
Yeah,
they're kind of conspiracy theories if you think about it, but they're more legend, paranormal myth something like that.
Point, yeah,
but nothing true blue conspiracy theory. So I'm looking forward to. We haven't told each other what conspiracy theories we're going to cover, so the idea is probably this episode, Nick will do his conspiracy theory. We'll go down that rabbit hole and see what we can find. And then the next episode, we'll do my conspiracy theory. And we'll go down that rabbit hole and see what I found. But I'm looking forward to it. What's your favorite part about a conspiracy theory?
I would probably say it's just the overall uncertainty behind it. And you can go down some pretty bizarre rabbit holes. And it kind of seems like in the realm of conspiracy theories, you hear one and it's like the most bizarre one you've heard. You're like, okay, that can't be
possibly
topped.
get worse than that.
And then like you always find one that's
and then
like
20 seconds later, oh my god,
yeah, you find like one that's like 10 times worse than that. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean that's probably like my favorite thing about it. And then it's with a lot of conspiracy theories too. There's also almost, it seems like there's a grain of truth to it.
Yes.
And with that, you never really know though, like what is true versus what's not true. You know what I mean? And
that's my favorite thing about a conspiracy theory probably is like you can find something so incredibly off the wall, but there's that one sliver of like this actually could be real.
Yeah, it could be real, or that, I mean, that actually happened, you know? And like
looking back or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of, I'm a big fan of conspiracy theories. Not that I like spend a lot of time like.
It's not like you're down here with the board,
and like all the string theory and
connecting the dots to everything,
dots or whatever.
Very always it's sunny.
But it's cool. It's cool to like dabble. Yeah, it's cool to dabble. It's cool to
dabble in the conspiracies just a touch.
Kind of check some things out.
I'm a little worried that I'm going to get a knock on the door from like government officials from what I was trying to dig up, but.
Yeah, I mean, it might be the case. You know, I might not be here next week because found dead in my car.
Oh my god!
Yeah, thrown out of a building.
Well, what happened to him? I don't know. He just fell off the side of this 40-story building.
Went crazy and was thrown out of a window.
Turned into a street pizza.
Yeah. Just goes to show you.
He was claiming all this weird stuff, like he knew this government conspiracy theory, and next thing you know, he's gone.
Saying we weren't alone in this universe, saying that the people are out to get them, Men in Black are real.
Turns out he was right, but...
You can find their address at 249 Smith Lane.
Speaking of finding our address, as usual, we like to start the episode by saying where you can find us on social media. Facebook, Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal podcast. Instagram, Shadows and Sightings Pod, or send us an email, shadowsandsightings@gmail.com. Always looking forward to hearing from you guys. So hit us up. Don't be shy. We're just a couple of dudes hanging out.
Just chilling. Yeah. So definitely, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that...
Well, Nick, you know we have to do a cryptid corner to start the episode.
Oh, crap.
Well, I looked it up a little bit. I've started to try to find things with you for the cryptid corners. So this week, apparently, the White House officially registered 2 new government domains, alien.gov and aliens.gov. So while the sites aren't live yet, records show that they were registered yesterday, March 17th.
No way.
This marks a significant shift towards public-facing UAP reporting.
Disclosure, man. It's happening.
It's a disclosure directive. So we're officially getting a website dedicated to just alien phenomena.
I wonder if it's going to be like sightings, or is it going to be, like a place for people to report?
Or is it going to be the government putting the stuff they found on this database?
Full on disclosure, be like, here's what we found. Yeah. Ooh, that's cool.
And the Connecticut lawmakers are currently debating the House Bill 5422, which would establish a dedicated state center at the University of Connecticut to study UAPs. It's a rare instance of a state-level push for academic and scientific UFO research. So this is all like a perfect storm. We're getting some alien content.
I mean, it's been a long time coming. I'm glad that they finally are like, okay, let's make this happen. Let's do this. What if we open up this can of worms and it's like, oh my God.
Why did we do this? I didn't need to know any of this stuff. We're going to find out people are aliens. They walk among us. Like Bill Gates.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's an alien. Mark Zuckerberg, he's an alien.
I'm pretty sure the tech support guy I just talked to on the phone is an alien.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that was so bizarre. He's like, he just kept, at first I thought it was like, is this AI? Is like a robot? Because he sounded really animated. Kind of like how people report.
He's too good at customer service?
Kind of how people report interacting with Men in Black.
Yeah.
Where it's just awkward and simulated almost, or it's just slightly off. And kind of touches on the uncanny valley.
I was going to say, you got the uncanny customer service rep.
Yeah, that was the uncanny customer service rep. Yeah,
it happened to me at Kohl's one day. Only this guy was not.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
The cold, calculated one.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
He was very animated, and I was like, you were made for this job.
I know exactly.
You using your Kohl's card today?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. He's like, oh, well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm like, okay, you're doing too. I'm just trying to buy this shirt, man.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The guy's great at his job. I mean, if he's not managing that fucking store, I don't know what they're doing over at Kohl's.
He's a nice dude. He will.
That dude could sell me just about anything if I wasn't, except a Kohl's credit card.
Yeah.
Right into that guy at a car dealership, I'd probably leave the lot with a new car.
I don't even need a new car.
Yeah.
It's crazy how as soon as you said that, I knew exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
just resonates.
Yeah,
you think that guy's an alien?
He might be. I wouldn't be surprised. It's at least an android. At a minimum.
The Kohl's service bot.
Yeah, but
you think somebody like that would just live for voiceovers and radio work or something?
I could see him doing that.
Yeah.
I could see him doing that. Get a contract for all these automated systems.
Mm-hmm.
Press 1 for, Did you hear about? I think it was in might have been New Mexico, but
we'll go with New Mexico. Why not?
We'll go New Mexico. It was They went, and I think it was for the DMV, so people calling in to get license renewals, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they piloted a new AI system, to kind of, press 1 for option 2, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But they also wanted to integrate it with a Hispanic speaking AI system because they wanted to reach out to their Hispanic population. So yeah, that's what they requested. But what they weren't expecting was it was still in English, but it had a Spanish accent. but
so it just ended up being racist.
Yeah, they were like, "We're so terribly sorry. This was a huge mistake."
Oh, I see you press 1.
Basically, that's what I had.
Stereotypical.
Yeah, it was essentially that. It was It was the prompts were the same. It was just sounded like the Pine Sol lady off of Family Guy, the cleaner. You remember
that was a family. Oh, you mean the okay.
We need more lemon pledge.
Yeah, lemon pledge.
Lemon pledge lady. Yeah, it sounded exactly like her. And I was like, oh my gosh, if this is not the biggest blunder.
That is hilarious to me.
What it was funny though was for English, press uno. For management, press dos. It was oh my gosh, that was pretty funny. Man. I was cracking up. But yeah, no, that's cool. Now I will be checking these websites more frequently.
Alien and aliens.gov.
That'll be interesting. Good on the government.
Watch them pull like it'll be like a monkey's paw thing where we've been asking for this, but it's not like not UFO aliens. It's just illegal.
My mind didn't go there. You
just get a database of
like illegal aliens, or and I was like, oh, come on, guys. Yeah, damn it. But yeah, that'll be cool.
Especially if they're going to let people report their own stuff to this database instead of just declassifying all the information they have. Yeah, you'll just get the most insane stuff on there.
I'm sure.
It'll be like OnlyFans.
But for aliens.
Yeah, because OnlyFans was supposed to be a workout. Personal trainers would use it as like you can subscribe to their channel and they'll give you meal preps and workouts and like overnight. Just no porn.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you though, but what's like the crazy statistic? Like 98% of the internet is like porn or something like
Probably.
that. Yeah, it's like I don't know what the specific number is. I don't even know if that's true, but I've heard that multiple times that the majority of everything that is on the internet is just porn.
I could absolutely believe that.
Not be surprised.
Absolutely believe that. It's funny you mentioned that. One of the conspiracy theories I was looking into before I settled on the one that I did kind of go down the rabbit hole on was the dead internet theory. And I don't know if you ever heard of that, where it's the internet's not a real, like there's no real things now. It's just a generative AI and bots just all talking to each other. It's just I was like, that's sad because it's true. It's like probably like back when that theory started, probably like I think I see it was like late 2010s or something like that. It was still like normal people online, and now it's just bots farming interest for these companies.
I mean, when you're on Reddit, you can quickly tell in the comment, like, okay, this is like an AI generated comment. It's,
that was too well thought out and spelled for Reddit.
So. But no, I mean, that is like the scary. I say scary, but I feel like
it's scary and it's very different.
I am thoroughly convinced that AI is in the same realm as what Henry Ford did with the automobile back in like the 1920s, the 1910s, where it was like the next big thing, like the .com boom and things like that, like the internet itself.
I was I would say AI is the new internet.
It's like the next, or like when Steve Jobs, pioneered the iPhone and essentially created like the modern smartphone, essentially
a supercomputer in your pocket.
Yeah, that was probably the last big step of the last like 20 years, and then AI is probably that next big thing that crazy to see what it's
taking over everything.
Yeah, it'll be.
Hopefully, it just doesn't get too out of control. That's all I hope.
I love it. I mean, some people hate it. Some people are afraid of it. They don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I think it's a great tool when it's used properly. I mean,
it has like amplified my life in so many ways.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah. I don't agree with the very fake images, like of sometimes, because it's very easy to fool older people.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. No offense if you're an older person listening to this podcast, but you are some subjective people to fraud and stuff like that.
I got one better for you, though. Hold that thought. I saw a video the other day of somebody playing Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Somebody thought it was the news.
The grandma thought it was the news.
Yeah.
Just like
I've seen so many videos of that. Like they'll be playing MLB The Show or Madden, and they'll just let a game run itself, and they think it's the actual football game or the actual baseball game happening. It's like, come on now. These people don't look that real.
Yeah, right.
But I just know that at some point there's going to be AI generated videos scamming old people. Like the traditional scams. Oh, this is your nephew calling from prison and I need $15,000 for bail. But now it'll be a video. Like they'll find that person's actual likeness and send it to a relative, and it'll make it look really real, and they'll fall for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've already had instances where couple jobs that I've applied to, there's a disclaimer in there that says, hey, no AI generated like answers for your resume questions, no AI generated.
They'll find out, they'll figure it out.
Well, some of them are running it through like a scanner kind of thing, but also too, there have been instances of people showing up for interviews, but they're presenting themselves as like an AI other person. So like, it's crazy.
How does that work?
I don't know. I guess they remote in to the meeting link, and they somehow.
Oh, so they're interviewing.
So it's managers interviewing like a potential candidate, but the
like
candidate
through Zoom or something.
Through Zoom or whatever, but the candidate isn't actually the candidate. It's like an AI generated person,
a perfect employee.
It's essentially, kind of thing. And what they're finding, it's the same thing, like the uncanny valley. That's where crazy. There's something seems off about this person. Where I think the one instance it was like the person had like too many fingers or something. Like this hand went up and it was like too many fingers or something like that. And that's how they knew. They were like, okay, you're obviously not a real person. Like,
that's insane. I can't.
So you're 1,000% agree with you that it's a double-edged sword. It's going to be a really, really great tool, but it's going to really, really burn a lot of people at the same time. So
and I feel bad for. I mean, like, of course, you're married to Brittany, who is a digital artist. It's going to take away so many digital artist jobs from so many people because you could just type it in a prompt now and get what you want. But
that's what she was talking about the other day. She's like, it's definitely going to like replace my job, in 10,
unfortunately,
15 years, whatever. But then she also made a good point. So it's not so much about replacing the job. It's more or less just now pivoting with it. So the new designers are going to be like, okay,
they'll be
how do I prompt
into
AI to get what I need it to do? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So
because you got to be very specific when generating an image, or you're just going to get some random crazy shit.
We're integrating with AI. Well, we have like an AI system at my job that like we've been pushing out to customers and stuff, and I'm hearing the conversations like with the developers were there yesterday, and I'm hearing them talk about it, and I mean like the conversations that they're having makes a lot of sense. And some of the things that they were saying was like, okay, well, that they were talking about that like 10 years ago. Like the biggest thing was, I don't know if you remember when Tesla really blew up with like, the Model 3s and all that. Elon was pushing this whole like the self-driving car kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of died down a little bit. It's still there. It's still like a thing, but like he's not really like blasting it out there as much as he was before because the big issue is there's actually a lot of ethical dilemmas with the whole self-driving concept because we're training these cars to use AI to self-drive, okay? Mm-hmm. But what if you have a situation where how does the AI know that this person is not, I'm not going to hit this target as opposed to this target?
Right.
Like, we can train it for a squirrel to run across the road and be like, okay, that's a squirrel, miss that. Well, what if it's a situation where, okay, there's an impending car coming and there's two options. Somebody is going to get, hit regardless.
Right.
There was talk about them using license plates to kind of do background checks on people, which could like value net worth.
Oh my God.
So if I'm driving a Tesla and this person here, based off of the background check,
is driving
makes 100, 200,000 a year versus this person here who only makes 40, 50,000 a year, who's more likely to get hit? And so now it's like this ethical thing of like, okay, you can like pay essentially.
That's wild.
It's just like things like that, like just training the system to like.
I was going to say because you can never train an AI to adapt to human error. Mm-hmm. Like that's the biggest thing. I've always said that it's like AI and self-driving cars are never going to work until everybody has one.
Yeah,
that'll be the only way it ever works because then they can all contact with each other and like you would assume that once they're all on the same frequency, same wavelength or whatever, and they can all communicate, there will be no human error.
That was the whole thing with
an AI shouldn't be making errors. So
that was the whole thing with
like you can't adapt for somebody falling asleep at their car, or at the wheel and swerving into another lane.
You remember when iRobot came out? You saw that, right, with Will Smith? Mm-hmm. And all the cars were self-driving cars. That he was like the automated like lane that he was going into, and he would just like kind of take the wheel.
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole concept. Like you said, like everything was automated, so nobody's actually driving manually. Mm-hmm. But then the disclaimer comes up where he's like, "I need to go into manual mode," and it says flashing in red. It's like, hey, you're about to go into manual mode. So you had to go through the whole approval process or whatever. And I could honestly see that being the case.
At some point, it could definitely happen. It's the same issue we have with electric cars, though, because like our infrastructure is not prepared for a mass exodus from gas cars to electric cars.
Yeah.
We just don't have the charging ports, the energy to supply every American going to an electric car.
Yeah.
It's like, so until you figure that out where we have the infrastructure to support it, there's no point in doing it.
No.
You got to start at the ground before you start like, okay, we're just going to do all the cars. And that's why it failed miserably in the last 4 years or so.
Ford, like the Lightning, like the sales just tanked.
Oh, yeah. Because they all got told they had to pivot to electric cars. And it's like, nobody's buying them because nobody wants to take on that extra expense of having to have a charger put in at their house. You can't really do road trips because you don't know where the next charging port's going to be. Yeah. That would be my biggest thing.
Like just not having. Well, they put a bunch of ports for like Tesla ports over at Target,
Yeah.
Which that wasn't there yesterday, so I guess they just put those.
But then you got to sit there for 2 hours to wait for your car to charge or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the charge time is for, but yeah. So that's good stuff. AI.
Sometimes can be.
It can be AI.
Use it responsibly, and we're all good.
Yep. Which, of course, then just ties back to your conspiracy theory, or the one that you're researching. I did see that the
dead internet,
kind of thing.
I seen the dead internet theory, and I was like, "Ooh, what's this?" And then as I got through it, I'm like, "Oh, that's just it's not really conspiracy theory. I feel like that's just real now. I feel like that's a real thing."
No, yeah, I'm sure. Like, a majority of it is
because it's like all it is bots feeding each other information instead of real people.
Yeah.
So, which I can totally see because you go on Facebook and you see a post with 4,000 comments and it's all people going, yeah, this is me. Yes, this is me. Yes, this is me. Amen. Amen. You know, that kind of same repetitive shit. And it's like, this is just bot farming to make it look like engagement, and it boosts in the algorithm. So it's wild. You got to figure out how do we get bots on our social medias so we can boost our algorithm.
Yeah.
We don't need bots. We've got listeners.
Yeah.
I hope.
All 12 of you.
All 12 of you. There's the core 4 who we doing this podcast for to tune in every week.
It'll be interesting to kind of dive into the conspiracy theory. So I'm curious to see what you got when you do your episode. So let me ask you this, buddy, because I was perusing through the legitimate sources of TikTok.
Of course.
Yeah.
I always believe everything I see on TikTok.
If it's on Reddit or TikTok, totally legit.
Yep.
Totally real. You can't question.
Definitely not AI.
Definitely not AI. Definitely not. It's all peer reviewed.
Yep.
It's
vetted. It's filtered through. We only get the top grade stuff.
It's legitimate sources coming from Reddit and TikTok. In all actuality, though, it was on TikTok and it popped up. Every now and then I'll subscribe to channels that talk about different conspiracy theories, bizarre, strange facts, paranormal things like that. Paranormal things and such.
Sometimes I get on those, like my algorithm will put those into my TikTok and I'll get onto one of those rabbit holes like that.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I legitimately get creeped out by some of the shit.
Oh, for sure.
Posting. I'm like, what the fuck?
I like the ones where it's like, hey, drop some. I don't know if you've seen this. It's been like a newer trend, but it's, the random picture of somebody and it's like, drop some elite level knowledge on,
if you know ball, name a 2008 wide receiver or some shit like that.
Or like, or it's basically like that, or like conspiracy theories that are fake but are actually true kind of thing, and the comments just explode or whatever. But the one I found, which I guess it's not really conspiracy theory, but more of in the realm of declassified military operations that from the outside looking in, you read it and you're like, what the actual fuck?
Sounds like a conspiracy theory to me.
I guess, at the time, I guess for me, it doesn't really register anymore as a conspiracy theory because it was declassified and it's now been confirmed that this was an actual thing.
Okay.
So that's why I'm like, it's not really a conspiracy theory. I mean, back 20 years ago or 30 years ago before it was declassified, sure, it probably would have been considered a conspiracy theory. But no, this is a legitimate thing.
It's just a real fucked up thing
that the U.S. government, was actually planning on doing. Which I'm not surprised because there's a long list of things the U.S. government has admitted to.
Oh yeah.
The atrocities of the Tuskegee Airmen. That was like a legitimate thing. MK Ultra was also confirmed to be a legit thing. And they've made it very clear that they are not afraid to use the American population.
Nope, never have been.
For their benefit.
Never not been afraid to do something like that. That's not my conspiracy theory right now that I'm going to talk about. COVID. I feel like that's the biggest example we have most recently of what can we get away with the American public.
Yeah. So like with what I got here, it was called Operation Northwoods. And it's considered one of the most controversial Cold War era plans ever declassified. So what was it? Operation Northwoods was a proposed but never executed plan created in 1962 by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The idea is that they were intending on creating a staged and or real attacks that would look like they were carried out by Fidel Castro's regime in Cuba in order to justify the U.S. invading Cuba for war.
The Cuban Missile Crisis.
The U.S. government wanted public and international support for military action against Cuba during the height of the Cold War tensions, especially after the events like the Bay of Pigs invasion. Of course, not to get like political about it, but like, for those of you who were, I'm sure we all remember 9/11. There for a while, in the realm of conspiracy theories, it was heavily pushed that 9/11 was kind of similar, like a false flag theory, an inside job thing to justify, the
going to war with
Iraq,
the Middle East,
and going in there.
I don't think that's political. I think most people, I think, almost at this point in time, like in this day and age, almost all of them subscribe to that being
a viable option,
a major conspiracy theory or a major cover-up.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But this Northwoods was kind of in that same realm. Like the idea was like, hey, let's create so much discord and chaos, blame it on our enemy, and give the people a reason to justify invading like Cuba.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah. Well, and this is also, of course, this is like 1962, so at the height of the Cold War. So there's a lot of like espionage.
Yeah.
A lot of espionage. We just public distrust was like through the roof. Like
I still don't trust them.
Yeah, well, you got to think 1962. So this was not even 10 years before you had the whole Red Scare thing.
Yeah.
And then the United States.
You had Pearl Harbor, which was another major conspiracy theory. So
like a lot of things, that were kind of coinciding, co-occurring, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where it gets great. So this was like the proposed plans, and this was like you can find documents that like list these things. So Miami was supposed to be like a staged terrorist attack. So they were going to attack U.S. cities, and the plan was to actually like murder American citizens on American soil. Miami was supposed to be one of those like hotspots where they were going to attack. They were planning on hijacking or blowing up planes, and including possibly using drone aircraft as decoys. I think in the documentation it talked about,
and this is in the 60s. They're talking about drones.
Well, I mean, like remote control planes or whatever.
Okay.
So not like actual drones. The plan
not drones that we know today.
Yeah, no. They were talking about repurposing old Air Force planes and repainting them or whatever to make them look like Cuban planes or whatever. But no one's actually inside piloting. They're just So hijacking or blowing up planes, sinking boats full of Cuban refugees, and then blaming Cuba. So Cubans leaving Cuba to come to the United States and then sinking those boats and then blaming Cuba for the attacks. Faking a military attack on Guantanamo Bay and creating fake news reports and evidence to sell the narrative. Some plans even suggested simulated or real casualties to make the story more believable. So, like we were saying earlier, at the time, the U.S., they were very serious on, hey, if it costs American lives on American soil, if it justifies invading Cuba, then we're going to do it.
Right.
Why it never happened?
Because it's a fucking stupid idea.
Because it's fucking horrible. In all reality, so I just want to let you guys put this into perspective for a second. You had the Department of Defense greenlit this. So this idea, this plan, went through many hands and multiple eyes looking at it, giving their approval, and then going on to the next one. And then you had the Joint Chiefs of Staff, so all 5 heads of the military.
All agreed.
Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps. Well, I guess Marine Corps is part
Air
of
Force, Navy, Army.
The 60s, it might have been the Army Air Force Corps. I'm not sure when the Corps there. Maybe the Coast Guard is probably what it is.
No, maybe.
Yeah, so Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard.
Sure.
Probably. We'll say it was those 5. All 5 of those, top generals, they got eyes on the plan, and they're like, okay, cool, we're approving this, we're signing off on it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's freaking nuts. It gets to President Kennedy, so it lands on Kennedy's desk, and Kennedy is like, what the actual
What is this now?
yeah. Basically, Kennedy was like, what the no, we're not fucking doing this. He was the only person to be against this and signed off, and I was like, no, negated this. We're not doing this at all. Yeah, the plan was presented to John F. Kennedy, who rejected it outright. I don't even think he gave it.
You think he read like the first 5 words and it was just like, I cannot approve this. What is this? What is this garbage?
Actual fucking yeah. But of course,
and all the generals are like, oh no, come on, read it.
So you got to think, but in all reality, this was before the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? So this was like the Bay of Pigs happened. Mm-hmm. Fidel Castro's going crazy with his regime. He's clearly proving to be a threat to national security at the time. So then they came up with this plan. Okay, let's go in there and take him out.
Right.
Kennedy rejects the plan, and then shortly after, the tensions escalated, which then led to the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh.
But Northwoods itself was shelved and it was never carried out. And they're like, okay, we're not going to do that.
At least that we know of.
Yeah, right.
Maybe not for Cuban stuff, but I feel like maybe that's happened since then. Just in different ways.
Yeah, this happened in 1962.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, President Kennedy's assassinated a year later in 1963. So
maybe if he didn't throw that out, he was never going to get assassinated. This is the rabbit holes we're talking about when it comes to conspiracy theories.
Well, the idea behind this is him flat out rejecting it. Clearly, if you have the entire military Joint Chiefs of Staff signing off on this and they're all in favor of this, but you're the one person who's like, no.
Yeah, it puts a target on your back like instantly.
They kind of viewed it as Kennedy was going soft on Cuba. He was, and at that point, it was like, okay, now Cuba, although they're a threat to national security, you're now a bigger threat to national security because you're taking this stance on Cuba.
It's like the Avengers where they branch the different timelines, and still you have like the main timeline that's the sacred timeline, but there's always these little branches that go out. I was like, I feel like Kennedy throwing the project out the window is like the sacred timeline, but there's one where he accepts it. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to do it. And then you get all these cities getting bombed and attacked, but he never gets assassinated. Kind of thing. Did
you ever watch, but forget 11, I think the date he was assassinated was 11/22 or 11/23, 62 or 63. There's a series on Hulu that had James Franco? No. Which is the older brother? Who is Harry
Dave
and Spider-Man?
Franco, maybe?
It was James Franco, is the older one, right?
I don't know.
He's like black.
It's a Franco brother.
It's the older Franco brother. He plays as this, forget his name, just call him Hank. Hank finds, it's a Stephen King series, so Hank finds these like tears in like reality, but they're like time portals.
Like canon events?
No, it's just like a door that takes you back to like the same period in time, back
same
in
place
the past. Same place in time, yeah.
Oh.
And if I remember correctly, if you go back to that time and place and you die, you get sent back to the beginning. You still age, but then you start back right where you started off. I think that's what it was. The whole it's freaking bizarre. The whole thing is like he goes into a diner to get like a piece of pie or something, and the guy who's been working at the diner has been there for like ever. When he gets into the diner, the guy looks like he's probably like his 50s, kind of sort of. He goes in the back room and he's only gone for like 10 seconds. But then he comes back and he's like, he looks like he's like aged like 20 years. And he's like, what has happened? He's like, let me show you something. And he like brings him in the back room and there's like this door. And he's like, I think he calls it like rabbit hole. I call them rabbit holes. But basically you go back in there, you end up in like Texas or 1962, before Kennedy's assassinated. And the whole thing is he's been trying to prevent Kennedy's assassination for like years.
Oh, wow. And it's like his life mission.
Yeah. And like every time he's about to do it, his plans get thwarted and he gets pulled back out of the door and he has to keep starting over at like the,
wow. That's cool.
It was a really good series. But complete spoiler, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
For whatever this show's called.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the date that he was assassinated. It's like but he gets to the point where, it's one of those timeline things. He prevents Kennedy's assassination, but then the alternative is like 10 times fucking worse. Because in that universe, after his assassination gets thwarted, he becomes like extremely paranoid. And he creates like what are called like the Kennedy camps. And he starts like imprisoning American citizens or whatever. He starts like going fucking batshit. Goes back to like the future after he succeeds, and then that old guy is still there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you didn't know? Like the Kennedy camps, like the United States is like a war-torn country or whatever." And like, it's pretty crazy.
I could definitely see something like that.
Great series.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Like with these rabbit holes, in conspiracy, it's like if one thing is different, we're in a completely different timeline. We're in a completely different reality.
Yeah.
It is so interesting to think about how if they just greenlight this, everybody, and then Kennedy greenlights it, how different everything would be.
What would have been? Yeah, exactly. Cuba probably.
Like, what's the end game then with, like, we're going to start attacking American cities and this and that, but like, what's the end game? Where does it stop?
Or because at that point, if you've been approved, so now you've already shown that, it's not that crazy because this is in the 60s. Tuskegee happened in like the 40s? So they've already.
You'd have to remind me of what happened with those guys. I've heard the story, but I don't really remember.
Oh, yeah. So it was the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
It was like the group of like African American pilots. Basically, the U.S. government was, I think the way that they pitched it was like, hey, we're going to treat you with this, with like a new medication that's going to help you, cure some ailment or whatever. I forget what it was. But in actuality, they were being injected with syphilis.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and they were being told it was like a cure or something, but they were actually being exposed to syphilis because the American government wanted to see, what is the effects of syphilis on like humans? Like how does this it was really fucked up to the point where like Clinton like the 90s came out and was like, okay, this was a monumental fuck up and we are like terribly sorry. He made like a public address.
I didn't know that was what happened to the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah, that's what the whole
thing. Of all people, why did they choose them?
That's why they're all pissed because these were like American war heroes.
Yeah,
and you guys,
American icons.
Yeah, and like you guys were injecting them with like syphilis. It was a really fucked up situation.
I'd say.
So like at that point you already had the government, and then MK Ultra happened in the 50s, and that was like a 15-20 year span of them injecting the American population with LSD to see like what the effects were. So at that point, the U.S. has kind of already rung the bell.
Yeah, they're
already like fucking with the.
They're playing with fire. Yeah, they got the matches out. They're sparking them.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Like, what would have happened if Operation Northwoods was greenlit by Kennedy and
just live in a huge militarized state? It'd be like, have you watched the new Twisted Metal series at all? I feel like it would kind of be like that, where they're called runners who bring supplies to and from major cities, but the cities are all walled in. So if you get into the city I guess you can earn your citizenship there kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or if you're born there, you're already you don't have to leave. But the runners are always battling with each other because if they get the loot, they either keep it or then they can sell it to the next city, so on and so forth. I feel like it would be something similar to that.
Yeah.
would end up being the goal.
Possibly, yeah.
Because then you have complete, I don't want to say domination's the right word, but if you're attacking your own citizens and barring a major rebellion and a major uprising, it's just going to be law and order every single day. It'd be Puritan law.
Yeah, basically.
Fucking Puritans.
No, they're back. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, what other possibilities could have led to that? The U.S. could have successfully maybe invaded Cuba. They would have wiped out that regime.
Yeah.
But I don't know, though, because the Bay of Pigs happened, and it kind of showcased that, these guys are actually viable to put up a fight, like Cuba. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
Well, I mean, again, I don't really know all that much about the Bay of Pigs scenario, but you'd have to imagine that a full-scale U.S. attack versus a Bay of Pigs scenario. Like, if you have reason, like, okay, let's go to war, we're sending the full might.
Yeah, true.
Of the military.
That's true. Yeah,
and this will be over in 2 days.
Because like I said, the Bay of Pigs was more or less just
it was like guerrilla fighting.
It was guerrilla fighters that were basically aided by the U.S. government.
Yeah,
it wasn't like actual. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'd be like a Puerto Rico situation where we take Cuba as like a territory or something like that. I don't know. Who knows what could have been the outcome.
We could have been having Cuban cigars this whole time.
We had them back for a little while.
Yeah, well, I think we still can have them. I think. No, they took them away again.
No, we no longer have access to them. You gotta go to Canada if you want.
Yeah.
But, so how do we know about this? How did Operation Northwoods, number one, remain secret for decades, but then, how did it come to, So, as I said before, it was complete hush-hush. It was a secret for decades, but it was declassified in the 1990s as part of investigations into the Cold War activities. So in the 90s, there was a push to kind of declassify, disclose things that happened during...
That's 30 years later at that point.
The Cold War era, that kind of thing. Maybe MK Ultra came out of that as a result as well. Why does this come up as such a big conspiracy theory? What fuels it? that kind of thing. Well, number one, it's documented proof.
That'll do it.
That the government seriously considered a false flag operation. It makes people question other events. If they thought about this, what else might be real or not real?
So it leads us back to,
9/11, the false
Pearl
flag
Harbor
theory, you name it. There's a good chance that you could probably spin it in some capacity.
Yeah. Again, whether you agree with it or not, COVID was, a great example of, in my opinion, it's my only opinion, nobody else's, that it's kind of like a stepping stone. Like, okay, we've done this. Can we take it a step further? Okay, let's quarantine, lock everybody down. Okay, we did that. What's the next step kind of thing? Yeah. And, you can look at it from the opposite, be like, oh, well, they didn't know what it was at the time. So it's, it's just one of those things. There's two sides of it. But, it's like, okay, well, we're running this experiment with the American public. So that way, the next time a major pandemic breaks out, or we can control it all again kind of thing. Yeah. That's my conspiracy theory.
You're not wrong in the fact that COVID really was a giant social experiment, whether it was intended or not to be, intentional or not.
I feel like maybe it wasn't intended that at the beginning, but it turned into one.
It's very viable. It's extremely possible. Do you remember? It was probably about 2 or 3 years ago now. And do you remember when? I think it had to been the government where they were like, "Hey, we're going to send out a nationwide phone alert service, like a test transmission." For in the event that there's a national emergency, that our phones essentially will like beep and blurp or whatever, to kind of let us know. Do you remember that?
I can't say that I remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I forget.
But it sounds familiar.
I forget like the specific day, but it was like at 5:00 on this date. All phones nationwide are gonna like chime or whatever, and like do like a test, and it did. It was like blurb. This is like a national.
Now that you mention that, it is like ringing a bell. Like I do kind of remember that.
And it was really weird though, like the timing of it, because it was after COVID.
Well, like coming out of that
or whatever. But then it kind of course, people were like blowing that up, as conspiracy theory. Hey, okay, well, why is the U.S. starting to invest in a nationwide alert system? The UFO community was blowing up about it. Oh, it's because disclosure's happening, and they're about to let us know that things are real, and it's going to cost public. Yeah, then
that'll be the beacon.
It was like
let the aliens know.
It was shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine, or like that whole war started or whatever. Mm-hmm. So then they were kind of thinking like, okay, if this turns into like a World War kind of scenario, like we need a way to like alert people. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, there's no shortage of scenarios where you could always twist to do like, okay, is this the government actually being truthful, or, like what's actually at hand here?
9 times out of 10, I would be like, that's the government.
Yeah, I tend to, like not to sound like a conspiracy thing. I always feel like it's the
We're talking about conspiracy theory, so I think it's okay in this space right now to sound like a conspiracy nut.
Yeah, but yeah, I am a firm believer that the government has done far more, because we've already have proof that they have done things, and that's what we've tried to do. They've tried to do things. Like that's what we know. That's what we've been told. That's what we've found. I am sure there is a shit ton of stuff that they've done that I've never told anybody about.
I would bet most school shootings are government conspiracy theories.
I mean, I'm on the fence about that one, because
like Columbine. I feel like Columbine was a perfect example. Like not everyone everywhere, but like the major ones that have got a lot. I don't know. It's something that just sticks in my brain. It's like this is a preventable tragedy, but like it wasn't prevented. And it caused a whole new uproar of,
I get
certain social.
I get where you're coming from in that regard. I would say I lean more in this is a government conspiracy thing, and I lean more into this is more of like a failure and like a breakdown like the system,
right?
Kind of thing where it's like, because there were, but yeah, people were like alarming the bells, like, hey, these people are, and it's like a common theme. It is a common. Hey, these people are saying some questionable things. Hey, they're posting some pretty questionable, like people are like alarming, and like no one's like taking them seriously, and then the shit fucking happens, and they're like, oh, we had no idea. And it's like, 'cause you guys were fucking listening, So yeah, like, and now it seems like they're taking it a little bit more serious, where the quote unquote seriously, where they're trying to take the
initiative
to be more preventative about it. If there's a report, they're more quick to jump on it now and actually investigate.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you have all these signs pointing towards this tragic event happening. Is it so far-fetched to think the government didn't facilitate it? Like, they didn't Because like you could have sent people to this school and stopped it. Like you could have, like if the government wanted to, they could have done it. But like, hold on, let's see how this plays out, kind of thing. And that's will give us a talking point to restrict gun laws more, and so on and so forth. It's a ripple thread of
from that angle. Yeah, the whole gun law. Which that to me always like,
because I mean it depends on your stance on guns and how the ownership process should work. But it's like the forefathers read it into our Constitution, the right to bear arms, to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government.
Yeah.
Is that likely going to happen anytime soon? We know our government's fucking corrupt and tyrannical.
Yeah, for sure.
But regular civilians can't rise up with guns against them.
Yeah.
But, taking it away from them makes it a docile, easy to control community regardless.
And
so is that it's one of those things. It branches into
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's like the whole push behind it. Like I've never agreed with the whole like taking the guns away is going to fix anything, because to me that's like the status quo right now of okay, what is the quickest way to end a life?
Right.
What, and my whole thing, and it's not just like with gun laws, it's like with anything, like putting a law in place. Like if somebody wants to do something,
they're going to do it.
They're going to do it.
Yeah.
So like, okay, you can't really combat that. So you have to take the defensive route against
right.
It. Okay,
exactly.
Let's beef up security then. Like
right.
It's more or less let's build the castle. They're going to try to invade. Let's build. I think that approach is like a more viable option because we can try to take away all the bows and arrows, but there's going to be one that's going to get through, guys.
Exactly.
But if we don't have the defense for it,
it's a crazy concept. It's like marijuana was illegal for decades.
Yeah, and now it's
people still got it.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's just making it illegal is not going to stop them from getting it.
Yep. So then I think they're starting to get wise. So they're like, okay, maybe we should just legalize it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you should have done that a long time ago. Look at the money you're making.
Tax it. So I mean, but that opens up like a whole bunch of other like conspiracy theories and all that. But I get.
Well, we got way off your original thing here, but that's the beauty of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, you're witnessing right now what it's actually like to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. But it's like, how do we know this Project Northwoods things exist? There's irrefutable evidence.
It's like, well, number one, it's documented. And like I said earlier, it often is referenced alongside theories about the events like 9/11. Although there's no proof of like linking them together, but it's like in that same realm of like false flag theories.
Right.
That's why it just like refuses to die. Yeah. So it's definitely a conspiracy theory that was actually real, but it was never executed. How close did the U.S. come to attacking itself? It seems pretty close.
Pretty one signature away.
One green lit approval away from it being like a real
one
thing.
JFK signature.
And I wouldn't. This definitely leads to a blueprint for modern conspiracy theories. But I mean, I'm sure there were many conspiracy theories way before Northwoods. So I will agree and say that it probably was one of the blueprints for the whole false flag theory, conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. Definitely was like and kind of pushing that narrative. But yeah, some other things to consider about it. The whole thing with like planes, using fake planes with real passengers. One proposal suggested that a real civilian plane would secretly land. Duplicate drone aircraft would take its place. The drone would be blown up mid-air. The world would believe innocent passengers were on that plane and died. That's not just deception. That's some Hollywood backstage military shit right there. A full-blown fake news campaign was planned. And this is just like giving details on like the different aspects of like how
what could have happened.
They're going to execute. Yeah. So those that signed off on it, those who were all for this, they understood that this wasn't just going to be about invading. It's one thing to invade the country to justify the invasion. It's one thing to carry out the attacks, but we also have to make it extremely believable by the U.S. public.
Right. Which I mean, you see it in modern media of the news outlets being able to turn situations in their favor. I hate
all news outlets.
I know, me too. It's all garbage.
I don't like. For me, like looking at either or side, I can't trust any of it because literally you'll see one thing and then you could literally find a contradiction.
You can watch Fox News and they'll tell you one thing and flip over to CNN
and it's the exact thing, but it's flipped.
Yep, exactly.
So it's like I can't.
So that's where you got to do your own investigation
and kind of try to figure
kind of like find the middle ground,
find like what's the grain of truth that that kind of existed,
right? But it's the government and mainstream media working together. So it's like if they were going to do it then, of course they're going to do it now.
I mean, that in itself, like news, because it's like another huge conspiracy theory, like the news corporations.
Well, they are owned by government.
Yeah, but isn't the like if you look at somebody like NPR or whatever, I think they're classified as like a news outlet. Mm-hmm. But if you look at like some of the big names, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, I think
like entertainment companies.
Yeah, it's like entertainment. Yeah. And it's like, oh man, like.
Well, because back in the day, I mean, back in the 60s when it would have been investigative journalism, like independent. That's what made these news broadcasts must-see TV, because they would report the facts and they would do their own research into them and then report it. So you wouldn't see the same story on every news channel.
Yeah.
But so I can only imagine if they tried to do this, how fast it would have got blown up in their faces. I mean, I'm not saying that it would have, but it was a different breed of investigative or journalism back in the 60s. It was like you get this false flag operation going. You know, who was that one fucking guy?
He was like
it was like an old news anchor way back in the day, but this is the news. This is the 6 o'clock news.
Oh, I don't know.
The fucking, God. I forget his name, but he was like the top guy. It's like, how fast do you think it was going to take him to be like, this is all bullshit? Like, I looked into all of my sources. None of this is real.
It's like we have all 5 Joint Chiefs of Staff signing off on this.
Yeah. I have the documents right here.
It's like, President Kennedy, this is your signature.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, right here.
Man, it's going to bug me that I can't think of what that guy's name is. But yeah, like.
So this wasn't just about planned attacks. They wanted to control the narrative as well. So they decided to fabricate evidence linking Cuba to the attacks. They were going to hand plant selected stories into the media. And they were going to create a wave of public outrage. Let's give the American public an enemy, someone to blame, and then like kind of go after that. Mm-hmm. So basically an early blueprint for information warfare and psychological operations. They intended to weaponize sympathy and tragedy to justify the war. And this would have been done through sinking boats with refugees. And then, of course, blaming Fidel Castro. But I think the biggest thing is it reads like a movie script, but it's real. When the documents were declassified, people were shocked because the plans were extremely detailed. They included timelines, methods, and cover stories, and it felt more like a thriller plot than an official government memo.
That's insane.
That's like, it kind of gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's like they were
so close to
they were
going
to do this.
Yeah.
And lastly, it changed how people view conspiracies. Because Northwoods is confirmed and documented, it is often used as proof that the governments are capable of deception at massive scale. It proved to be a foundation for modern conspiracy thinking and a reference point in debates about trust and transparency within the American government.
All true stuff.
Yeah, so that's my conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What are your thoughts, man? What are you thinking?
Just initial reaction is like, what the fuck? You know, like to think how close the American government was to turning on its own civilians. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's something that you only hear other countries doing. These regimes that take over and they turn on their own citizens to keep them all in line, kind of. We're so close to it. And it's like, you think that can never happen to us. And yet here we were, literally one signature away from it happening to us.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been wild.
It is a fun little thought exercise to think the different outcomes that could have come from this actually going down and actually happening. Like we already mentioned a couple of our theories, like JFK doesn't get assassinated, but he does insane a little bit, gets these, like your series.
Well, that was the plot for that Stephen
series.
King. Yeah, but I mean, that's an option.
Probably isn't that far off. Or he becomes like, this very resolute leader who is like a Franklin D. Roosevelt, who has like 6 terms in office because he was just the best president ever, even though it's all built on this crazy lie.
It's like false flag theory. Yeah. Like that Kennedy, he came through. He was a leader when Cuba attacked or whatever.
Right.
Like,
he averted us from World War III.
Yeah.
He saved millions of American lives. It's like, actually.
Nope, that motherfucker was going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like in that timeline. Like he fucking did it.
Yeah.
He's like, he's the wolf. Yeah, I don't know. Like that'd have been insane. Like, yeah, like, can you imagine having Cuba as like what if that was the case? Then Cuba potentially would have been like thriving. It could be thriving now. I mean, it's pretty sad. They just got their electrical grid hooked up after like the longest blackout that they've had in forever.
Yeah. Cuba's not in a good spot.
Yeah, they're not. So like
and they haven't been
for a very long time.
Since the Castro regime.
Yeah, and there was like I get why there's like so much like anger from the refugees that leave there or whatever. Like I completely understand why that hatred is there. But yeah, imagine like a modernized Cuba. Like Puerto Rico, where it's our territory, and I mean, there's parts of it that are still like decrepit, like that there are.
Well, I mean, that's any
place that you go,
city, anywhere you go.
But then there are parts of Puerto Rico where it's like like it's
a vacation,
it's bustling. Yeah, it's like
tourist resort kind of place. Yeah.
So probably in that same realm.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably would have been a great tour. It probably would have cruises to Cuba. They'd just stop there and.
Or that could have actually, but then you got to look at the other perspective too. That could have led to World War III because Cuba and Russia were like buddy. So by default, if the U.S. would have invaded Cuba, took out Castro, that probably
then you get a retaliation from Russia.
Russia probably would have retaliated
by launching a nuke at us
or something. Yeah. Well, that was the whole thing about Cuban Missile. They were trying to build the nukes right there on Cuba, and they're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, we're with the anti-nuke agency down the street, and
literally, the United States is 90 miles that way. You can't do that. It's just we're not cracking those eggs today, my friend. Yeah, so that was my conspiracy theory.
That's good stuff, man. That was a good one.
I love it because it's like American history, and I love American history. And,
and it's cool that it's a proven thing. Like, I mean, cool in some degrees, but also very terrifying in others. It's cool that
I could have found a conspiracy theory that we can't really prove it.
It was just way batshit crazy off the wall.
Just like insane, but like at least this was like no, this was like a legit thing that was going to happen.
And it's proven.
It's proven
document.
How do you know? Because it's documented. Look, here's the original paper right here. Kennedy, no.
Circled in red ink.
Red ink. It's like,
I would love to see
like Kennedy, man, you guys have no cap. Absolutely not. GTFO.
He just walks into like the war room or whatever, just kicks the door open, and it's like bathrobe. It's like 2 a.m. What is this shit?
Larry, sit down.
Why is Marilyn in here? Get her out of here.
It's like, are you guys fucking nuts? Yeah. So that was my Operation Northwoods. Yeah. That was my conspiracy theory.
Good shit, man.
What do you got?
Well, what I got's going to be in our next episode because we're already at an hour on this one. So, which was the plan. This is exactly why I wanted to split it into 2 different episodes, because I know that once we start rolling, these rabbit holes are going to get deeper and deeper, and we can just keep going. And that's the thing I like the most about these sort of topics. So, with that being said, Nick, anything else you want to add about your topic or anything in general?
No, it was a good time. I enjoyed exploring that conspiracy theory. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have on our next episode, because I have no idea what you're going to talk about. So this will be interesting.
I think I've got a pretty interesting one. It's very local. I'll say it's local.
Okay, cool.
So, but it also involves government conspiracies, government cover-ups, cryptids, AI, all kinds of shit.
Oh, interesting.
It covers the gambit.
Cool.
And I'm stoked. So, yeah, with that being said, like I said at the top of the episode, follow us on social media. Shadows and Sightings, the Paranormal Podcast on Facebook, Shadows and Sightings Pod on Instagram, and shadowsandsightings@gmail.com. Send us an email. Make sure you leave us a good review on whatever platform you're listening to this to. And until next time, we'll see you then when we talk about all things spooky.